Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live from Santa Cruz, California. I'm so happy to be here. I had the opportunity to, believe it or not, I was doing a very intense detox program where I sat many hours in saunas. I'm still on it. I should be done in a couple days. But I decided to reread my book, New Hope for Sciatica. And, I've written a lot of books, and sometimes you forget about the books you wrote and what you put in them and the significance of them. And I was really happy to see, what I had written so many years ago about back pain, chronic pain, the reason it's not getting well, and what you can do to rectify it. So I thought I would spend today's show going over these concepts to help you or anybody you know that's in chronic pain so that they could maybe find their way back home. Home being where they can enjoy their life, do the things that they want to do with their life, and not be limited by their body's predicaments. And some of them are chronic, some are off and on, some just acute, meaning they've just come for a little while. But life is so short. I'm 70 years old. I realize I got 20 good years. Why would I want to do anything but try to live them as at the peak of my ability? I'm not of the mindset that, oh, I'm just kind of slowing down and the body's slowing down. You may or may not be, but for me, I just want to enjoy this part of my life. I've worked hard to get here, and I want to keep my body as healthy as I can. That's why I'm doing this 21-day heavy sauna detox program. And it's been really amazing. So I don't recommend you try stuff until you have somebody walk you through it. But in my book, New Hope for Sciatica, which is available on Amazon, I'm going to kind of go through a couple things. Now, believe it or not, when I put this book out on Amazon in 2020, March of 2020, I think, there were 30 other authors that we'd all worked together to put a book out. Well, mine got blocked because of something that I said. I'll leave that to your imagination around that time. But I'm going to go ahead and read what I think is a very significant thought process on learning how to be and stay healthier. So this says, note from the author. That would be me. Okay, as I sit in the process of writing this book, perhaps the biggest wake-up call in modern history has plagued our planet. Even if I sit writing these words, citizens of our country and, in fact, the whole world are quarantined or confined to their homes. Entire cities and even countries have been shut down, and all non-essential businesses have been asked to temporarily close their doors. The deadly blank, blank, blank has arrived, and with it came mass hysteria. The powers that be, governments, nations, our own CDC, FDA, let alone the World Health Organization, has been turned on its ear. The blank blank, invisible to the naked eye, has proven the biggest terrorist of all. It is almost like our planet has been invaded by outer space, and we are defenseless against the alien attack. People are scrambling for supplies. Things as common as toilet paper, paper towels are nowhere to be found. Shopping carts have been commandeered and slammed together as frantic citizens are vying for position, grabbing boatloads of supplies off the shelves of local grocery stores, often leaving none and showing no regard for their neighbor. Not since the last World War has the world realized such a threat to survival. And yet, perhaps out of the rubble and ruins of an inept and now defenseless healthcare system will rise a new awareness in the minds of the peoples of Earth. For far too many years, we have depended on Big Pharma to save the day with the new miracle pill. Yet, with the invasion of blank, we are left defenseless. Or are we? Now, I wrote this in 2020. Okay. Did you know that the wisest, most powerful physician who ever walked this planet lives right inside of you? It reminds me of the 1939 movie called The Wizard of Oz. For the entirety of the movie, Dorothy was searching for a way home. She evaded wicked witches, flying monkeys, fell victim to patches of wild, intoxicated poppies, when the whole time she had the power to find her way home. As Glinda, the good witch of the North, would finally reveal, All she had to do was click her heels of her ruby slippers together and repeat, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home." Inside every one of us dwells an incredible innate intelligence. It has a purpose, and that purpose is to survive. And for eons, this innate intelligence has ensured that we do survive. It wasn't until the advent of the massive pharmac pharmacological cartel who put profit before people that we started down this path of the magic pill dependency. Don't get me wrong, I realize how much modern medicine has added to our survival and our overcoming of hitherto overwhelming epidemics. But perhaps with this paradigm shift, it is time for the individual to take back the control of his or her own health. Now, I wrote this in 2020, but the paradigm shift is happening now because of what's going on in the capital with the healthcare industry. And through the pages of this book, as we discuss new and innovative ways for us to heal our own body, and in this volume, specifically addressing the multi-therapeutic approach to sciatica, and I should say any chronic pain, it is my goal and desire to help you not only address your sciatica or other chronic pain, but to rise above the dependency of another for your amazing health potential and take the reins and learn to guide your own life to where you can flourish and prosper while enjoying excellent health. So that is the author's note of my book, New Hope for Sciatica. If you don't have it, you should get it. I just reread it and I went, wow, I wrote this? Damn, that's pretty good. So I'm going to continue on with the next chapter here. It's called There Comes a New Dawn. Why can't I get my pain to go away? Anybody ever thought of that? Why can't I get my pain to go away? Well, maybe you'll find some answers here. So, if you are reading this book or listening to this book, then you have already spent hours, many hours, weeks, months, and years struggling with the unrelenting pain of sciatica or perhaps other issues. Perhaps you have had bouts of it or even lower back pain with a hint of leg pain, numbness, or weakness. The scary thing is that maybe you feel that it is getting worse. It's like you've been flat on your back and in so much pain, but nothing helps. And you're wondering, and you've wondered about the best way to end it all. Believe me, I've been there. I've been there myself. I do understand. Whatever the reason for your interest, I hope you find the answers you are looking for. If you are at the point where you know that in order to heal your body so that you can enjoy your life again, you need to change something, then this book is for you. Maybe you've discovered that all the different pain meds, injections, nerve burning, physical therapy, and even surgeries that might have worked for others have failed to help you. I understand how it could be hard to imagine that the contents of the pages of this book could help you. Please be encouraged because after 36 years in practice and having suffered from breaking my own back over 50 years ago, I have personally tried everything short of surgery. As a result, I became a pretty good judge of what I can and can't be helped. Don't give up. There is one limiting factor here, and that it is you. You have to not just want the pain to go away, you must demand that it goes away. If you're ready for this, then read on or listen on or buy the book on Amazon. Turn back your biological, oh, excuse me, wrong book. New Hope for Sciatica. There is hope. That's why it's called New Hope for Sciatica. And by getting through the pages of the book, I know you will be helped. In this book, you will discover exactly what you need to do to handle your pain, but also to actually understand that in order to truly get well, you have to eliminate the multitude of issues culminating in your health condition. I understand that right now you just want relief. Having suffered for far too many years myself, I know what it is like to live a life of quiet desperation, hoping and praying that the pain goes away. You are about to find some answers to questions like this. Where did my symptoms come from? Why haven't I been able to be helped? Will I ever be able to end the pain? How long will my doctor keep me on pain management? Am I becoming addicted to pain meds and other drugs? Am I damaging my organs by taking these drugs? Will I ever get well? Do I need surgery? What about my future? Will I ever enjoy my life again? What, if anything, can be done about it? Be encouraged. There is new hope on the horizon. Your pain relief just got a new friend, and your future looks bright. There are new technologies out there, little known by traditional medicine and even by alternative healthcare communities. By getting an understanding of what is wrong and getting a grip on what things are causing your chronic pain and inflammation, you will be empowered to take your life back. Right now, it is important for you to make this decision. And that decision is if it's to be, it's up to me. It's time to make a stand. If you do, there is hope. You can be helped. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Wellness Radio. Again, I'm reading my book, New Hope for Sciatica, that I pulled off the shelf. I hadn't looked at it for a few years, and I see how relevant it is. And I really wanted to share some of this because maybe it could help one person out there. Okay, so now I'm going to go on because I think the more information you get, the better off we're going to be. This is How Do I Know My Journey to Be Me? My first inkling that something was wrong came about first grade. We were learning how to make letters on a big lined paper. I had a yellow crayon in my hand and had just crafted a perfect letter C when Miss Dworkin looked at my work and immediately proclaimed that I did it wrong. It was backwards. I was confused and remained so for several years. Rather than explain to me that a C pointed the other way, I was quickly labeled dyslexic and thrown down a long, dark, and humiliating path. Things got worse. In third grade, when we were in circle time reading See Spot Run out loud to each other, the boy named John, who was completely blind, sat next to me. John had just finished a beautiful passage about Spot with only his fingers, mind you, and it was my turn. However, I could not read a thing on the page. I remember a sinking feeling inside of me as the rest of the class looked on with so many different expressions. That experience stayed with me, haunting me in my unconsciousness for decades. Shortly thereafter, my family moved to Piedmont, a small town about 20 minutes away from Berkeley, California. So I was away from the constant restimulation brought on by that moment in my elementary school. As anyone whose family relocated can tell you, it was a trying time to get through by myself. And I'll talk more about that later. The next wake-up call happened at age 12. It was a rainy Sunday morning, and I was visiting my two best friends from Berkeley, Billy and Andy. They were twins. Andy was born first, 20 minutes earlier, but for some reason they were known as Billy and Andy rather than Andy and Billy, and that was what we called them. Billy and Andy. Anyway, we were up on Tightwad Hill above the Cal Berkeley football stadium trying to watch a Cal Stanford game. This is a huge rivalry in the Bay Area and known as the Big Game. It was not to be missed. As it was obvious the rain was not going to let up, Bill and Andy produced what is called a tube tent from somewhere. This is a cylindrical plastic tube you would take backpacking back in the day. You run a rope through it and tie each end to a tree, creating a shelter from the weather. Boy, backpacking equipment has come a long way. The cylinder shape of the tube tent only had two openings, and since Billy and Andy held the positions and would not share, I decided to climb up a tree to get a better vantage. As fate would have it, I apparently used bad judgment in choosing the branch for my perch. When the Cal got a touchdown against the opposing team, it was tradition that a cannon located close by on Tightwad Hill would boom, proclaiming the score. My excitement for the score and my knee-jerk reaction to the sudden explosion created enough force to overcome the tensile strength of my perch. Suddenly, the branch broke. I sat suddenly the branch I sat on snapped, propelling me 25 feet down to the steeply slope, rain-soaked hillside. Oh, steeply sloped, rain-soaked hillside. I landed in a seated position and then slid several feet in the mud. I remember not being able to move or get a decent breath. Not only was the wind knocked out of me, but if I tried to move, searing pain shot through my body. It took a moment for Billy and Andy to understand the extent of my injury, and that was bad enough that they would require them to exit the warm, dry comfort of their tube tent to render first aid. It also meant that they were likely to miss the results of the game. Finally realizing that I really could not walk on my own, they carried me, one on each side, 3/4 of a mile back home. My parents were happily engaged in one of the Cal Berkeley traditional games, cocktail parties. And when I came in, as you know, in those days, little kids are supposed to be seen and not heard. As a young kid, your only real role models are your parents. If they do not pay attention to your pain other than feed you dope, you simply begin to think that your condition is normal. Pain becomes a part of your life. Trying to do things like be comfortable on the couch watching TV or even getting to sleep was hampered by varying degrees of toothache, low back pain. Even though the pain levels would vary, it was always there. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic, and I'm reading to you from my book, New Hope for Sciatica. And I'm doing this because I came across the book on my bookshelf the other day and thought, wow, I haven't read this in a while. And in reading it, I was very happy to find out, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm going to read it today and make it available. It's available on Amazon, by the way. So I remember the first couple weeks in seventh grade. All the guys were trying to work out for football. Coach Minter had us flat on our backs on the field doing old style sit-ups. This caused excruciating pain for me. I recall the unapproving look in the coach's eyes as he watched me struggle. It was like it was like he thought I was being lazy or like he decided right then and there I was not one of his chosen. I felt like an outcast, as though he had just stopped seeing me. There were days it wasn't so bad. I could run and play tree tag, flying through the branches of a large oak tree at the top of Piedmont Park. But in the evening, I would pay the price, often with searing back pain, leg pain, coupled with degrees of depression. This, of course, would lead to my continued consumption of various illicit substances purchased in the darkened sanctions of the Piedmont Park as an attempt to cover up both my mental and physical pain associated with my broken body. Today, I have so much compassion for children, and I'm constantly blown away by parents who say, "Oh, he's so young. How could he possibly have back pain?" Oh, believe me, he can. For the next several years, my complaints fell on calloused ears with fingers pointing to bottles of aspirin or some other form of painkiller. All the drugs did was mask the pain at best and never went away. In 1969, I had just turned 14, living in Berkeley Bay Area by Telegraph Avenue, which borders the Berkeley campus. It was in turmoil. The Berkeley riots and protests of the Vietnam War were in full swing. Then on May 15th, that day of the year, a day remembered as Bloody Thursday, Governor Reagan unleashed California's National Guard on the demonstrators and all hell broke loose. As the guard shot into the crowd, a student was killed and another blinded. Times were tough, but out of this, the flower children came. You were either on the right or the left. Needless to say, I fell to the left. With this move started my 14-year experience with every kind of mind-altering and body-numbing drug imaginable. Frankly, I was lucky to survive. Turn on, tune in, and drop out. That became the battle cry of the new counterculture era. This was a phrase popularized by the psychologist Timothy Leary as he spoke in front of 30,000 hippies in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. I didn't necessarily find a drug that would relieve my pain, but I definitely distracted me from reality, which in itself was a welcome at the time. I started taking drugs that could be procured on the streets near Telegraph Avenue. As early as 1968, I began paying attention to the words of Grace Slick from the Jefferson Airplane as she sang White Rabbit. You can fill in the blank. And for the next 14 years, I followed the suggestions of the lyrics of that song, and such began my quest to essentially ineffective pills my mom provided me and lose myself in the psychedelic euphoria promises of a emerging generation. So this was kind of my lot in life. And at age 21, I was the proud owner of a 1959 Dodge half-ton pickup that I had purchased from my friend Andy a couple years earlier. This made me everybody's friend. One day, two friends approached, offering to buy the beer if they could use my truck to move a piano they were given. Well, I couldn't turn down free beer, so I agreed to help them move the piano. So we drank the case of Busch Bavarian Talls and then headed off to get the piano. That's the way you did it in those days. Since I was the biggest and had no idea that I wasn't normal, it was not normal to live in constant pain, I took the back end of the upright grand while my two buddies took the front. As we worked to get the piano out of the garage, the two guys in front said, "Okay, we're clear, pick it up." So I lifted my end of the piano only to hit the top of the garage door. I was in a stooped, precarious position when it hit, and my back gave out and I collapsed to the floor. I re-injured my back badly. This left me flat on my back on the living room floor of my house in excruciating pain. I lay there for 3 weeks. Nothing helped, and I mean nothing. I had access to almost any and all drugs on the market, both legal and illegal, but nothing touched my pain. As I lay there on the floor, my friend Joni gave me massages, fixed me meals. I don't think I ate much, and as much as I liked Joni, the massages didn't help. The bigger problem was that I hadn't had a bowel movement in a week, and I was beginning to get scared. The pain in my lower back was a 15 out of 10, and the burning pain down my legs was intolerable. It was about this time that I truly considered ending my life, and I remember that so well. I was hopelessly handicapped at 21 years old. I had been in pain for 8 years, and nobody seemed to believe me or really care. I was considering my options when two friends walked in and decisively told me they were taking me to a chiropractor they knew. A what? I thought. I had grown up with the medical doctors community in Berkeley in the 60s. Chiropractic was at that time a four-letter word spelled incorrectly, KWAK. As I tried to protest, these two friends picked up this ugly, moth-eaten green couch I had hauled down from my dad's house from the Bay Area, and they put it in the back of my pickup. Then, against my will, they picked me up. I remember screaming from the motion. They put me on a couch in the back of my own pickup and started driving me away to my destiny. The next thing I know, my friends carried me into some small office where this beautiful Midwestern goddess handed me some paperwork to fill out. If it weren't for her angelic lily white complexion and her snow white mannerisms, I would have tried to crawl away, scratching my way out with my fingernails, which were the only things that worked at the time. Soon I was carried into Dr. York's back office. Wow, what a scary moment. He was dressed in polyester pants and wore a white patent leather belt and similar shoes. His shirt was unbuttoned, one too many buttons, and his short cropped hair was scary. As I explained the piano incident to him, he had nothing. He had note. He noted and took nodded and took notes. After poking around on my back, Dr. York told me he needed an x-ray of me standing. This was a problem because I hadn't been able to stand in 3 weeks. With some convincing Dr. York, my friends held me up as this doctor took an x-ray of my back. Then Dr. York disappeared behind a door labeled dark room. I had no idea what that meant, but I remember the strange noises coming out of there, and I couldn't help thinking of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was very strange. After what seemed like an hour in the dark room, Dr. York walked out and put an x-ray up on the light box. He pointed to a spot on the x-ray and said the magic words that changed my life forever. When did you break your back? He was the first doctor in all these years to take my pain seriously. I burst into tears. No one had diagnosed the crushing vertebra in all those years. All they offered were lousy drugs that didn't even touch the pain. Now it became very clear to me that the deleterious effects of all those drugs I had consumed would never fix the problem and would only cover up the symptoms. As time went on, I began to realize the drug's effects in regards to my inability to read, thus furthering my dyslexic diagnosis from the first grade. What he said next scared the heck out of me. But as a result, it changed my life forever. Now remember, I could not stand up at all and was suffering from terrible low back pain, also shot down my right leg. I hadn't had a bowel movement in a week, and I was seriously considering a dark side permanent alternative. I did not want to live life like this. But then Dr. York said 5 words that gave me a glimmer of hope. I think I can help. He went on to explain that the fractured vertebra was basically pancaked so many years ago. It was squashed. However, because I was young at the time of the injury, the bone was still green. So when it broke, it squished like silly putty. He said, had it been happened as a grown-up, the mature bones would have snapped into fragments. He said I was lucky. I was young when the accident occurred. Yikes. Next, Dr. York talked about my bowel function and that the new injury caused the bones and soft tissue to squeeze up against my spinal cord. He said that this was likely pressing not only on the nerves and causing pain, but also on the nerves controlling my bowels. He said he would be willing to give it a try. He said he would be willing to try to give me a chiropractic adjustment to move the bones off the nerve, but only under the promise that I would immediately go to the emergency room if it didn't work. The Golden Gate Bridge option was sounding better as he went along. However, Dr. York did have me sign a paper to the effect that I would go to the hospital if the adjustment failed. My friends were held responsible to drive me there as well. I was scared to death, so I agreed to the terms. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and this is McCollum Family Chiropractic. I want to just take a short break and appreciate everybody out there who has been listening to my show and talking to people about coming in, referring them in. We have so many things going on at the end of the year, so many specials. You can come in for the $49 SoftWave therapy treatment. We have a brand new Hydrowave machine, so much better than the amazing SoftWave therapy. We have both of them, but we've upgraded because it's better. I also have the laser treatment protocol, which is amazing. It goes along with that and it turns on the mitochondria, which are inside the cell, the power plant of the cell, so that tired cells can't heal, healthy cells heal. We also have a peripheral neuropathy program, which we're changing people's lives dramatically. And we have a special for $99 where you can come in and get a complete set of digital x-rays, a full peripheral neuropathy evaluation, including um, pictures of your feet that will actually help us understand what's going on with them, thermographic imaging, that is. We also have the vibe plate, um, hydrogen machines, via PEMF machines. We have so much stuff in place to try to help you get better. So call 831-459-9990 if you like, and just say, hey, I want to come in for the peripheral neuropathy thing for $99 if you think your feet are going numb. The TRT, 39 bucks for a complete set of digital x-rays and a consultation with me and a follow-up, all for 39 bucks. So any of those specials, call 831-459-9990. We'll see you soon. 831-459-9990. All right, I'm back. So the next thing I knew, Dr. York placed me on his adjusting table in a sideways position. And before I knew what happened, he jumped on my back. There was a loud snap and a jolt of pain down my leg, and I felt like I was about to black out. I hated doctors at this point, and I had no regard for that guy. I'd had it. The rush of adrenaline had me jump to my feet, and I was about to hit the or lambaste him. Suddenly, I realized that I was standing on my own 2 feet for the first time in 3 weeks. I was stunned, dumbfounded, and ecstatic all at once. I was still in pain, but it paled in comparison to the pain I'd been carried in with. I began to cry. As Dr. York explained what just occurred, I felt hope for the first time in years. He described the term something like this: when some kind of physical, chemical, or mental force is exerted on the body, the resulting trauma can have minor or major effects. Oftentimes, the trauma is such that one or more spinal vertebrae will slip out of place or get misaligned. He called it a subluxation, below light, subluxation. He stated that usually within a few days, the body will recover. The spinal segments will again regain 100% of its expected motion, and the communication centers of the body will be intact, and all will be well. He explained that occasionally the body cannot right itself from the trauma, and the vertebra does not regain proper motion or function. At that point, the spinal segments start to break down, kind of like a tiny cavity in your tooth beginning to form. And just like the cavity, this subluxation can go undetected. That is until that moment it hits the nerve. I've had plenty of toothaches to understand that concept only too well. So when he explained how a misaligned vertebra can compress the delicate nerve form, the spinal nerves, causing any kind of disruption of communication to and from the brain, I got it. I realized that I had experienced all three types of subluxation: physical, falling out of a tree and crushing my fifth vertebra; chemical, all the drugs and alcohol I had consumed to rid myself of the pain; mental, the anguish associated with wondering if I would ever get well as any other tricks my mind played on me. All these things combined were responsible for my ill health. Then I could see a path for hope. I'll read that again. If all these things combined were responsible for my ill health, then I could see a path for hope. I was interested. Over the next few weeks and in the next several years, Dr. York continued to talk to me about chiropractic and this concept of the subluxation. Again, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I'm reading from my book, New Hope for Sciatica. And I hope this is interesting. Anybody you know that needs help, have them give us a call, 831-459-9990 for a complimentary consultation to see if we can help you or them. There are specials to move forward if we need to take x-rays or various things. We can discuss that either on the phone or when you get here. There's never a charge to talk to you, though. The subluxation Dr. York explained that there were only 31 pairs of nerves exiting the human spine, 31 pairs of nerves, and that those 31 pairs of nerves divide and divide until there is a branch communicating with all 75 trillion cells in the body. He explained like how in 1895 a magnetic healer named D.D. Palmer discovered chiropractic. As the story goes, there was a janitor named Harvey Lillard working in Dee Dee's office and who had a hearing problem. In fact, he was practically deaf. One day, Dee Dee asked permission to examine Harvey's spine. And what Dee Dee discovered was a large lump protruding on one side of Harvey's neck. Dee Dee determined that this must be misaligned vertebra caused by an earlier trauma Harvey sustained. Dee Dee asked permission to try to correct the misalignment. Harvey was game. So Dee Dee, having a good understanding of spinal structure, positioned Harvey's body in such a way that when he exerted a measured amount of impulse on the misaligned vertebra, there was a loud pop and the bone returned to its normal expected position. With that, Harvey got off the table and proclaimed that his hearing had returned. And chiropractic was born. As the story goes, Dee Dee's son, BJ, who was 14, happened to be in the office at the time and was thrilled with what he had seen. BJ Palmer even eventually took over chiropractic reins and became the developer of chiropractic. He postulated that the power that made the body could heal the body and spent the next many decades dedicated to the development of what is today the largest non-medical alternative healthcare profession in the world. Though through BJ's ensuing research and development, a working definition of subluxation. Basically, it goes like this. When two vertebrae are misaligned from whatever cause, the body's innate intelligence is unable to correct it. The segments will wear incorrectly, causing disc decay, and spinal arthritis at the level of the spine. The pressure on the misalignment disrupts communication to and from the brain, causing dysfunction. And if unchecked, a disease process will develop. I was fascinated with everything Dr. York talked to me about and made the decision at that moment. I wanted to do what he did. I wanted to become a chiropractor. The only problem was that I couldn't read. So the odds were not in my favor. It took me several more drug addicted years to finally pull out of it. One night, it was around it was around 20 it was about 23 years ago, probably 28 by now. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, as B.B. King's song goes. I found myself about to have a heart attack. I had consumed so much alcohol, coupled with opium, laced weed, copious amounts of cocaine, methamphetamine, and any other downer I could find that I'd almost overdosed. I remember standing in my music room, frozen in place, scared, literally unable to move. My heart felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. I stumbled my way to the cliff above the ocean near my house and reflected, if I don't quit these drugs and alcohol, I will die. That was it. I quit on the spot. It was that moment during which my life changed. It had to get that bad. The path before me was not an easy one, but after several failed attempts at school, reversion to painkillers and drugs, bouts of depression and self-abasement, not even being able to read a comic strip, 13 years after Dr. York had administered that first chiropractic adjustment, I made it. I might have taken 13 years, but with the help of Dr. York, my father, my sister, and a fellow students pulled me along. I was able to overcome my learning disabilities, drug addiction, alcohol addictions, and physical limitations, and make my dream come true. On September 22nd, 5 days after the Loma Prieta earthquake of 1989, I graduated as Dr. Duncan McCollum, Doctor of Chiropractic, and Dr. York and his beautiful wife, Patricia, were there to wish me well. Against all odds and obstacles, I made it. Today, my life is amazing. I am dedicated to staying on the upper end of the learning curve. I have connected with some of the top doctors on the planet, and my days are filled with studying and learning the newest and latest science in health and regenerative medicine. I am so fortunate to have connected with heroes such as Dr. Dan Pompa, who is considered the world leader in cellular healing and true cellular detoxification. He has engaged me as one of his elite doctors in the health centers of the future and regenerative medicine movements. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from McCollum Wellness Radio, and very happy to be here. I'm reading from my book, New Hope for Sciatica. The health centers of the future doctors are about 40 of us, men and women, dedicated to the constant study of the latest research, then implementing that, which has proven effective in our research to forward regenerative medicine. The learning curve is steep, and as one of my great friends and colleagues, Dr. Mindy Pell says, it's like being connected to Dr. Dan Pompa is like constantly being hit in the face with a powerful blast from a fire hose. Just when you think you got it and have caught up, a whole new volume of science hits you in the face. It's never ending, but it's a ride of a life. I feel so fortunate to be included in his journey and definitely keep my head spinning. Recently, Dr. Pompa introduced me to a guy named Bill. That's all I know. And now I am part of a clandestine Russian-based study on turning back the biological clock. I'd love to tell you about it, but I'd have to, well, you know how the story goes. As a result of the test, I found out that my biological age, even though I was 64, is 42. How do you turn back your biological clock? That's up my other book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. This was the first. Get you out of pain, turn back your biological clock, and then we have a couple more coming out that you'll be, I think that you will like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read another story. This is of a patient of mine. I had a couple other patients. They came into the office, and I'll just read this. Is surgery my only option? And this woman that came in, this was her question. About a year ago, now 7 or 8 years ago, a couple longtime patients of mine asked if I thought I could help their coworker. When I asked about her situation, they told me she was lifting something and it had severe low back pain. They said she had been on her back for several days and that they wanted to get her in. I asked them to send her in so that I would do a complimentary consultation with her, which is my usual practice. When Carol came into the office, she looked miserable. She was using a walker and could barely move. She was an attractive woman in her mid-50s and about 30 pounds overweight. She told me that she had just left the emergency room at the local hospital where they had done an MRI. She was told that she had a severely herniated disc and needed immediate surgery. Immediate surgery. Lucky for her, the surgeon would not be in until the following Monday. It was a Wednesday, so I had some work to do. After a thorough consultation, I discovered that she had grown up on a farm in the Midwest. She had been active as a kid and somewhat of a tomboy. She remembered many issues as a kid and was even told that she had broken her tailbone when she fell off a horse. For the past 20 years, Carol's had had a desk job and had lost her athletic body. The examination revealed severe inflammation of the lumbar spine. I told her I needed to get a set of standing spinal x-rays. And when she asked if the MRI was good, I explained that the MRIs are taken lying down and often distort things. She said she understood and was agreeable. The full spine x-ray showed that she was leaning far over to the left side, putting much more weight on the left side of her body. But my sciatica is on the left. That doesn't make sense, Carol said. Right, I agreed. If I had a nail in my left shoe, I would typically lean away from the nail, not to put more weight on that left foot. I could see her questioning and then understanding as I began to explain what was happening to her. I explained that the nervous system was so confused because of the extreme inflammation around the nerve, the herniated disc, and with the effects of the Demerol shot they had given in her rear end, that her body didn't know what to do. I could see a glimmer of hope develop in her eyes and a softness embrace her cheeks. I remember her grasping my hand, trembling. Doctor, can you help me? I'm afraid of surgery, but they told me I needed it. Carol had never seen a chiropractic before, and as a rule, didn't like doctors. I continued to explain her x-ray findings and then told her that there was a good chance I could help her, but it would be important that she do everything I asked her. She sat there a few minutes and then said, I trust you, doctor. Please do what I need to do. Now, it is quite something to have someone in so much pain and so desperate to grant you their trust. This is an amazing privilege and one of the things I cherish. I explained what I was going to do. Now, a lot of chiropractors I know would not have attempted what I did, but I know that if I could get some pressure off of her lumbar nerve, I had a chance to relieve her sciatica to some degree. After all, this is what Dr. York had done for me some 45 years ago. I also told her what Dr. York told me, and Carol told me that she had been constipated and was having trouble holding her urine. So I knew there was a tremendous amount of pressure, not only on the sciatic nerve which went down her leg, but also pressure affecting her organs. This was a serious condition, I told her. I'm going to try to move the bone off your nerve. It may hurt a bit. That is not always the case. It is usually just gives relief, kind of like taking glass out of your finger. But if I can get it to move, you should feel some relief. However, if I can't get it to move, I'm going to ask you to go back to the emergency room and let them know about your bowel and bladder condition. Carol agreed, so I began the procedure. Again, this was something I do because of my years of experience. I can't even tell you how many chiropractic interns have come to work for me over the years and would look on in horror as I do what I was about to do. I don't understand their shock. As chiropractors, which was discovered in 1895, was established on the principle that the body has the ability to heal itself. And if you can free up the nerve and reestablish correct communication, it can do just that. This concept goes all the way back to Hippocrates. Yet, these poor students come out of chiropractic school afraid to adjust. But I will talk more about that later. Once I got Carol's agreement, I helped her onto the left side of the table, on the table on her left side. She was clearly in severe pain, no matter what position she was in. First, I did a seldom used technique and released meningeal sheath, a glove-like sheath that houses the spinal cord and stops the spinal fluid from leaking out. Imagine holding a sheet of cellophane and bending it, twisting it in your hand. Now you see how that sheath may twist. After about 5 minutes of this technique, I could feel Carol begin to relax and felt like the time was right to move the bone. I got Carol in the correct position so that there would be a little resistance to the chiropractic adjustment. Having a thorough understanding of what is called the biodynamics of the spine, of the proper motion of the spine, and how the bones, joints are supposed to move, is something only a skilled chiropractor will be able to do in a correction with certainty. So I positioned Carol correctly on the adjusting table, asked her to take a breath in, let it out, and relax. her upper shoulders backwards. Then I produced an exactly calculated motion on a specific part of the fifth or bottom vertebra. There was a loud pop, and Carol exclaimed. I could feel the heat rush in her skin as the sympathetic surge of adrenaline flowed through her body. I remember her lying there sideways on the table as she burst into tears. Carol started sobbing, and it was hard for me to refrain from crying as well. Even now, recalling the moment fills my eyes with tears. I had been at this long enough to feel the relief in her body and to sense the muscles start to relax. The adjustment was a success. I took a moment to thank God, and then I thought about how Dr. Anthony York had performed almost the exact same procedure on me all those many years ago. Once Carol was ready, I helped her to her feet. And I'll never forget the look on her face when she realized that she could put weight on her legs without the support of the walker. Carol made her way up the aisle, she continuing to cry, saying thank you over and over again. Carol went on to do my recommendations, and I taught her how to handle chronic inflammation in her body. She lost 30 pounds. And then one day she came into the office with the excitement of telling her that she'd been asked out on a date, something that she never believed would have happened. She was a transformed person. The beauty and glow of her face and eyes over the next few months was amazing. Having lost 30 pounds and getting her certainty back, her age seemed to fall away from her. So, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I hope that you enjoyed this rendition, the story, a true story out of my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, excuse me, out of my book, New Hope for Sciatica. And I will continue on with this at another point, but you can always buy this book on Amazon, and maybe you know people that need to read this story. Maybe it will give them hope that there is something they can do about their own life. I've been doing this for 36 years and I've seen amazing results. Not everybody can be helped, and I turn people away when I know I can't help them. Sadly, they wait too long. So often people come in here and they've waited way too long. Now, it's not their fault. They've been given information that hasn't helped them. Maybe it's take these medications, that medication. And so many people come in with these piled up, and the combination of those themselves are causing a lot of problems. I'm not saying get off any meds. This is not my realm. I'm only here to help your body start to heal itself. Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic in Capitola. Please give us a call, 831-459-9990, 831-459-9990, and say you heard me on the radio. Go to my website, McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. We have lots of specials. This time of year is the best time to come in, get ready for the end of the year and all the festivities and stresses that come out of that. So don't wait. Let's get started today. Let's get you so you can enjoy the rest of the year and have a great 2026. 831-459-9990. I never charge to talk about sit down and talk about your health. We have the $49 Hydrowave SoftWave therapy treatment, which includes an x-ray of the area, a treatment, and a follow-up. You can get a full set of digital x-rays for $39, normally $300. Or you can do the $99 peripheral neuropathy evaluation, including a treatment, full set of digital x-rays. And I hope you take advantage of this or send somebody you know to take advantage of it. We always have stuff going on here. You'll love my staff. They're amazing. And we hope to see you guys very soon. All right. You have an awesome day, and we will see you